what I knew about men, you could fit in a thimble, I think. My upbringing, I lived in a house full of women. My mom was a single parent with 3 girls. I'd had boyfriends and I had guy friends. But this sort of man who would have a membership to the Gaslight Club, I was not familiar with this sort of person. I had a nickname, Fair Claire Bear, which is to say, she's like the most naive girl in the room. Yeah. I met some really wonderful musicians and other singers there. Wonderful, wonderful people. But I met one pianist there. Her name was Nancy Barber. And she used to say, Claire is the only girl who could look like a virgin in a Gaslight Girl costume. And that, she's not lying. I was told with great pride by some of the people who were like lifers there that essentially Hugh Hefner got his idea from the Gaslight Club. That's what I was told. There were 3 of them when I worked at a Gaslight Club. One was the beautiful townhouse on Huron, and another was at O'Hare, a way to spend your time between planes, apparently. And then the third was in the Palmer House, and that's where I worked. I worked at the Palmer House one. There were 2 rooms. One is a really jazzy room where you had to shake the beads around your neck, and the other was called the library. Wonderful musicians. Like you really can't barely find anything like that anymore. It was my first job out of college. I moved to the city, looked for a job. A girl that I'd gone to school with was working there, and she let me know that I could come in and audition. Opportunities like this for a kid from a small town, moving into the city, in her first apartment, they're precious. So I went in and sang, and I got the job. And for a while, I got to wear an evening gown, which was very comforting to me. And then, no, I had to transition into the outfit, which was a little bit like a Playboy bunny costume, except, some had fringe on them. And I did draw the line. It was like, I must have an outfit that has fringe. I cannot have an outfit without fringe. Yeah. And, we had to wear these big high heels. Kind of like a Playboy bunny outfit, very plungingly low at the top and very angly high at the thigh. And, fringe would sort of cover up 3 inches all the way around on the bottom, which I found comforting. I tried to persuade him that no, I really needed to just keep wearing the gown. And there was a lovely woman there. She was the seamstress. She was the seamstress for all of the Gaslight Girl clubs. And she was there like 3 days a week or something like that. Always, always, always fixing things. And she remade costumes for every new person who came in. Some of them were new, but some of them were remade from some older costume. Anyway, she was very talented and darling, absolutely darling. And she adopted me as soon as I pretty much walked through the door of the dressing room the first time. So I said, I should not wear one of those outfits because I am not built like they all are. Now, I tried to use the fact that I didn't have a huge bust line so I wouldn't have to wear the costume. And she's Polish and she goes, oh my God, Clary, I give everybody boobies, everybody, So she tells me I have to go to the basement of the Woolworths and buy these things that are this dense foam. It took me like an hour and a half to buy them because somehow in my own mind, I had to wait to purchase them until there was no one waiting in the line because I was so embarrassed anyway. They got put in my Gaslight Girl's costume and then I had the same heaving bosoms as everyone else. Yeah. I didn't really know what was possible, or I really didn't even know like the thoughts that might be in the room. Like I had this occasion when I sort of learned. Because we had people from all over the country and the world came there, of course, because it was the Palmer House. And a gentleman, I think from Germany, he put down his key on the tray with his check. And I did not get it. I think there aren't a lot of situations in which we are with people who are so different from us in terms of our upbringing. Every one of these women had lovely, lovely qualities. I enjoyed working with all of them. I was already somebody for whom there was a lot of gray area. I wasn't particularly black and white in terms of how I saw people, but these experiences made me even less black and white. And that was such a good thing. It was my first time meeting women whose lifestyles were supported by men who they had no intention of marrying and who were married to someone else. As far as I know, no one I ever worked with functioned as a hooker out of that place. I mean, really, really talented women. And then there were also some who had just raw voices and who had stories to match, you know. Then there were the women who were in the restaurant, and there was one woman who was sort of the assistant manager, and she was not there one day, and nobody knew why she wasn't there. And then she showed up several weeks later in a full-length mink. And I did notice that there were no tags in it. All the tags were cut out. And Kathy, our lovely seamstress, was there. And so she's all like kind of showing off, and everybody's trying on her coat and blah, 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 blah. And then she leaves, and Kathy looks at me and she goes, oh. You know, she was quite sure that this woman was probably having a relationship with someone who was in the mafia. And it was, you know, it's like, what? You know, I just like, but then she comes back like within the month. She was asking the manager for her job back, but it was quite a striking situation because she had a big black eye and she was somewhat the worse for wear. I just will never forget like what her face looked like when she came back in and tried to get a job, because she looked like she'd been through it, just been through it. And it's just stuff you learn by inference. It's like, ooh, yeah, I am not going to be making that choice.
Next week in Lincoln Square, a man who really loves public transit.
It's like a Disney ride almost, because it's two cars. And, you know, as it pulls up, you can hear it being like, all right, guys, get on board. We're going to go to Skokie.
From Superphonic Studios, this is Chicago. Listen every Sunday.